Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's conversation on the coach training. Absolutely excited to have all of you here, and I'm going to ask you to work with me on something. As you were registering, you were given the option of asking a question, and many of you did. And what I have found from reading your questions ahead of time is I have two different groups of people with us here today. Some of you are exploring the idea of coach training for yourself and becoming a coach. And some of you are exploring coach training for a program inside of a company or an organization. And so my goal will be to answer questions for both of you. Where I'm asking you to work with me is know that there are people in the audience that are here participating today that want the information from the other perspective. So you'll hear some that is pertinent to you, and you'll hear some that's pertinent to that group. What I will do is give each and every one of you an opportunity to schedule a 30-minute session with me and get more of your individual questions answered. So I'll give you that information at the end. And in the meantime, thank you for working with me on that. So our agenda for today, what we're talking about. First off, how important is coaching-specific training? It's absolutely fascinating. What we're finding is people are really asking this question. So we're going to go there, and we're going to respond to that. Then the next question, of course, is what training makes sense? Is it different training if you're internal? And internal, by definition, means you're an employee of the company, and you are doing coaching inside the company. So you're paid by the company as an employee, and coaching is part of your work. External, what's external? External is a coach who's in business for themselves. They're selling their coaching services, and very often the company is hiring them to coach the employee. So they're called an external coach. How do you choose the right training program is the next question we explore. And then, of course, we'll talk through resources available to you and have time for more question and answer. So how does that question and answer part work? Well, first off, for the questions that you submitted ahead of time, I'll work very hard at addressing those as we go, so thank you for those. Of course, at the end, what we can do is go back and, okay, whatever didn't fit in the scope of what we've got ready for you, we're going to address it then, and we'll invite additional questions. In terms of inviting additional questions, occasionally I have people that are brave and raise their hand and say, yes, I'll come on live and ask my question. More often what I'm seeing is you type it in the question panel, and we'll make sure we're addressing that for you. So looking forward to that. Please know you can ask questions throughout the program. Type them into that question panel in your control panel for the webinar, and we will monitor that and answer those as we go as much as possible, or we'll address them all at the end. So thank you for that. All right, first off, how important is coach-specific training? Well, to me, that begs the question, what professionals are trained? Training professionals have training. Human resource professionals have training. Those are actually areas where we see a lot of people come through also the coach training. Mental health professionals have training. Think about it. Psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, therapists. Image consultants have training. Facilitators have training. People that do conflict mediation have training. And, of course, the list goes on. Doctor, dentist, lawyer, accountant. All professionals have training. Given that all professionals have training, are you with me on this one? Is it almost ironic that people are even asking if training is appropriate for coaching? Of course it is. Think about it this way. If you yourself are going to hire a coach and pay them, do you care? Do you care if they've been trained specifically to do what they're doing? For example, if I'm looking for a dentist, I'm not going to go to the doctor and ask him to do a filling or a crown or something. I'm going to go to somebody who's been trained to do what it is I'm looking for. Do you care if they have a code of ethics? So here's a fascinating conversation in the coaching profession. Yeah, technically anyone can hang out a shingle and say, I'm a coach, I do coaching, and that is happening a lot. And they're well-intentioned. They want to serve people, and they haven't been trained on ethics. And yeah, they have ethics. They're ethical. That is their intention. They don't know what they don't know. So what we find in a training program is all of a sudden people are going, wow, I hadn't even thought about that. So yes, we want to know the training's there, the ethics there. If you're hiring a coach, you're working with them on your goals, your objectives, your action plans, your strategies. You want to know it's confidential. And is that coach really aware of what it means to be confidential? This is a huge one, particularly when you're looking at companies who have a coaching program. And what happens is they have both internal and external coaches. They have employees that are doing coaching. They also hire coaches from outside the organization. And the big question is confidentiality. So if notes from a coaching session are taken on a company-owned computer, well, then they're owned by the company, and the company has access to them. And what we see happen is coaches who do not have the training, the appropriate training in that ethics, the manager says, hey, I want to know what's being discussed in that coaching conversation. And sometimes the coach just gives them the information. Well, that's not confidential. And other times the coach says, well, no, I can't give you that information. It's confidential. They know to say that. Well, then the manager goes to the IT department and says, go get those notes off the computer for me. And they do the end run. So are we really clear on what that means? And that's where that training is so significant. And what about process? So yeah, we can do great training programs inside of companies. Organizations have been doing training for a long time. They have a lot of fabulous professionals working inside the company, training people on communication skills and all kinds of different things that are significant to the organization. Is that the training that's coaching specific? And does the trainer have the training in coaching? So that's where you're going to get the process. Training that is from somebody with that expertise in coaching is going to provide a process for coaching. That's significant in how the coaching relationship works. All right, Harvard Business Review talked about this, and here's what they said. When somebody hires a coach, here's what they're looking for: experience in a similar setting and a clear methodology. These are two different things. Experience in a similar setting means that that coach gets the world in which the client functions. So if they're going to coach somebody, they understand what's going on. It's an interesting conversation. Do they have to be an expert in that area? The bottom line is they have to be up to speed fairly quickly. So there's a lot of transferable pieces. Let's do an example. Let's say an executive wants a coach. Perhaps some of you are HR professionals or executives yourself. You're familiar with this. The company is going to hire a coach for this executive. When they say experience in a similar setting, do they want to hire somebody who just graduated from high school to coach that executive? The executive's going to say, no way. I've got to have somebody who's got more real-world experience than that. Let's say this company sells widgets, and let's say the coach has never sold widgets before. Here's the difference. If that coach has worked with leaders at that level, the same level as that executive is going to say, yeah, they get my world. If that coach has been an executive in a different industry, yes, at the same time at that same level, the executive is going to be comfortable with them. So the experience in a similar setting is related more to the position than it is to the specific industry. That's what they're looking for. Do you get my world? The other thing they want is a clear methodology. And the clear methodology, that's where the training comes in. Having coach-specific training so that you get what the process is, what the flow is, etc. Now, coaching, as far as a company goes, does it matter? Is it making a difference? You bet it is. It's the go-to tool when you have high potential employees that are identified and going to be worked with and developed. It's the go-to tool for leaders in the organization. And increasingly, it's a go-to tool for the company as a whole, for employee engagement and for productivity. Now, interesting couple of statistics, and those of you, I know I have some familiar names here, so those of you who are familiar with this, yeah, we've talked about these before. You see, when you look at an organization, they're looking at employee engagement, they're looking at productivity, and we know that when people leave a company, they're leaving their boss, not the company itself. So talent retention has become a huge issue for companies. This is where coaching-specific training is coming in. Because when we use that coaching approach, we are fully engaging employees, we're enhancing productivity, and we're absolutely making a difference in terms of retaining talent. And all of this has a bottom line impact for the company. Okay, Fortune magazine said, how much of a bottom line impact? And they looked at a number of different studies. The average range is between 500 and 700%. Most of the studies coming out are saying 500 to 700% return on investment. And you're sitting here going, what? 500 to 700%? Yeah, that's incredible. When you think about that level of a return on investment, how can they afford not to have coaching? It absolutely makes sense. So the coaching is bringing that kind of a return on investment. Probably the most often cited study came from Manchester, Inc., and they say 570% return on investment. Metrics Global has done studies. There are a number of them out there, and the return on investment is huge. Now, there's one that is outside this range that I love. It was done by Triad Performance Technologies, and they said, okay, what impact does coaching have? And they looked very specifically at sales coaching in the telecommunications industry. And they cited 1,000% return on investment for the coaching with the salespeople. That's huge. Okay, let's keep going on coach-specific training. If you do a training program, you're going to increase productivity 22.4%. If you add coaching to that, you're going to increase it 88%, 4 times the difference. That's huge. And this comes from public personnel management. So we know that training is a big deal. We know that training for coaching specifically really is important, and we know that coaching is a big deal. So what does it all mean to us? Coaching is a learned skill. It is very, very different than other roles, and this is a big challenge. Very often there's a misunderstanding. People think that coaching is like mentoring, or it's like consulting, or it's like managing, and it's different than any of those other roles. Coachees, the people who are being coached, really want to coach with a clear methodology. So what is coaching then? I'm talking about it being different. What exactly is it? And one of the questions that came in ahead of time, by the way, was, okay, what's the difference between career or life coaching? So we have executive coaching, career coaching, business coaching. There's health and wellness coaching. There's education coaching. There's life coaching. There are so many different types of coaching. And really the difference is what the focus is for the client. And very often, as far as the coach goes, it's about their background and expertise. Back to what Harvard Business Review said, they want to know you have experience in a similar setting. Whatever type of coaching it is, this definition from the International Coach Federation, it's a great, great definition. Think about what these words are saying here. Partnering with clients. We're partnering with them. In other words, I'm not coming in as the expert. The client, in fact, is the expert. I'm coming in with the process. It is a thought-provoking and creative process. So let's go back to the idea of coach training. It takes more talent, more skill, more patience to partner with somebody to empower them so they are their own best expert than it does to just give them the answer. So yes, when we have a mentor or a consultant or a manager, we go to that person for the answer. When we have a coach, that coach pushes us and challenges us to figure it out for ourselves. And in that way, it the coach is setting up the individual to maximize their own personal and professional potential. That's amazing, and that's powerful. Now, here's an interesting piece on the training, and this came from the American Management Association, so you can see it right out of their study. When a company uses externally based methods of training, that is what is most strongly correlated with the overall coaching success. And that last sentence is interesting, tends to be used less often. So companies say, okay, we want a coaching program. Let's go to our training department. Hey, training department, give us a training program on coaching. And the people in the training department have lots of expertise in a lot of different areas, and they haven't gone through coach training themselves. If they're not coaches, that kind of thing. And so now they're putting together this training program without the expertise that makes sense for the training program. Okay, when you have a training program, what kind of information do you want there? And this will be also in response. One of you said, okay, what are the skills for coaching? So this is giving you the 11 core competencies that were developed by the International Coach Federation. These are the skill areas for someone who is a coach, and they're sorted into categories. So we're going to build, starting with the foundation, and work our way up. Setting the foundation is the first category of competencies, and there are two competencies there. One is the ethical guidelines. So the International Coach Federation has a code of ethics, and in addition to that being available to everybody, if you're a member of the International Coach Federation, you're actually required to be accountable to it and to abide by it. So that set of ethical guidelines, having training around that so you get what it means and how it applies in your circumstance, that's huge. Having a coaching agreement, an actual written document that defines what the relationship is and how it works. The next competency is co-creating the relationship. That involves the ability of the coach to create a safe space for the client so that the client really does trust the coach, and they can have those deep conversations, that intimate level discussion. And it means that the coach is truly present to the client, and 100% focused on the client and working with the client based on what works for that client. Communicating effectively involves skills in active listening, powerful questioning, and in the clear, direct communication, language that is respectful and says what it means. These are specific to coaching, and yes, there's a lot of overlap from the various professions. Facilitating learning and results involves creating awareness. You see, as coaches, we challenge our clients' thinking, we expand their thinking. It involves designing actions, specific and intentional. It includes, of course, the overall planning and goal setting, and then also being an accountability partner. So when you do a training program, either internal coaches or external coaches, ensuring that you're developing all 11 competencies appropriately, that makes sense. What else makes sense? If you're going to do a training program for coaching, you want a program that's been approved for coaching. And the way to get that is a program that has the approval from the International Coach Federation. For those of you who want it to be a certification, the gold standard there is IASET, the International Association for Continuing Education and Training. They look at how the program is designed and delivered. So this gives you some assurance, if you will. It gives you the credibility of a training program. Now, some people are also asking, okay, is training different if I'm an internal coach employed in the organization or I'm an external coach? And here's the research on this, again from American Management Association. So leaders in an organization actually prefer an external coach. The reason for that very often goes back to confidentiality. It also is about, bottom line, If they're coaches inside the organization, they're probably at a lower level in the chain of command. And that makes it difficult for that leader to really explore some of their ideas and strategies and have that open conversation. So best practices is this. In a company with a coaching program, yes, you want external training for your internal coaches. You want internal coaches working with your entry-level employees up through the mid-level of management. It makes sense in terms of cost. It's practical, it's doable, and it works. And then you want external coaches at the higher levels of management. That's where you're going to have the greatest success and the greatest return on the investment for the coaching program. Now, internal and external coaches, you want them trained. That certification. And what that means is they've been developing the core competencies and they've been trained on coaching ethics and how that's different than the ethics for other professions. Also, how it's the same. So it covers both. You do want them to have a process. Now, whether the coaching addresses just the job or the whole person is another big question that comes up. When you have an internal coaching program, it's inside the company, and the coaches are inside the company. Very often there's this idea, hey, it's only about the job. That's the only thing we're going to talk about. And then what they're finding, the reality of it is 76% of the time, according to Harvard Business Review, personal issues get addressed. And people say, well, wait a minute, that's not job-related. And the pushback is, well, wait a minute, it is job-related. You see, if I'm distracted because I've got something going on in my personal life, medical challenges, financial, whatever it is, I have a hard time focusing on the job. When I have the ability to work that through, then when I am on the job, I can truly focus on the job and give it my all. So consider in your coaching program, in the training, having the knowledge base for working with the whole person more than just the job. Because individuals do have competing priorities, and they want to know they can talk about them in a setting that truly is confidential, that they can have that conversation with you and still move forward and have progress with that. Now, back to what we were talking about with the best practices. When you have the high-level executives, yes, the external coach. And typically, external coaches are more expensive. It's all hard costs for the company. When you have internal coaches, it's soft costs. And it works because the internal coaches know the company culture and because the employees at those levels are going to be comfortable with the internal coaches. So it works. That's your insight and awareness there. Now, coaching process expertise is incredibly significant for you, as is subject matter expertise. So subject matter expertise goes back to that experience in a similar setting. The level of subject matter expertise is probably the biggest question. As long as the coach is up to speed very quickly with what it is for that client, you're going to be in good shape, because what's the bigger indicator of success is the rapport between the coach and the client. Now I'm going to dig into an example in terms of coaching model and coaching process that comes out of having a training. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we call the coaching model our staircase to success. And when you build the staircase, the first thing that you do is set up the framework. Where are you going to hang the steps? And so that framework in coaching starts with the training. That's the bottom line foundation for having an effective coaching relationship. And in that training, the coach is developing competency. They're getting those ethics into place. And with that foundation in place, you're ready to build the staircase. The first step in this coaching relationship is the agreement between the coach and the client. Then it's on the coach to be present to the client, and in the moment with them to truly understand the client and create that space where the client can trust the coach and really be open with them. Then you've got the level of rapport that in fact is moving that relationship forward. The communication process, the listening skills of the coach, their clear, direct language, and their powerful questions continue advancing what's happening and sets up the exploration of the client for their own opportunities and possibilities. And through that, they're developing their strategy. And that, in fact, is how they move toward the doorway called success. And success is defined by the client. Now, the process we teach at the Center for Coaching Certification is to start with an introductory session, 20 or 30 minutes. It's designed to make sure that it is a good fit between the coach and the client. It's designed to give the client a chance to check out coaching, see what it's like, and see how it works, and decide or buy into that coaching process. In an opening session, this is where you're opening the door for that whole person. The client gets to explore what they want in all areas, and through that, they're creating an awareness of what their priorities are, their competing priorities, their values, etc. And then the coach, in the second conversation, is working with that client on their focus in terms of what they're doing and where they're going and how they're going to remain motivated and fully engaged in moving forward. As an ongoing routine in the coaching relationship, the client is prioritizing what they want to focus on and work on. They're developing their strategy, creating their action plan, and then checking in with the coach, who's their accountability partner for the progress and success along the way. As the client becomes complete in working on what they want to work on, the coach sets them up by having a conversation on how are they maintaining this and planning for the long term. And in a closing session, supporting their process for continuing what they're doing. Now, how do you choose the right training program? First off, you're looking at the quality of the program, you're looking at the value, and you're looking at the logistics of it. So, for example, in terms of quality, the credibility factor, knowing that the program is approved by the International Coach Federation, knowing whether they're authorized by IASET to offer CEUs and they really know what a certification needs. The coaching tools that come with the coach training, because bottom line, as an organization or as an individual coach, that's what you're using on a day-to-day basis. You want it to be a fabulous opportunity in terms of your own professional development, too. Now, the good news is, if you look at ICF-approved programs, you're going to have more than 400 choices for training. As far as the level of training, there are programs that are a few hours, and there are programs that are 10 years. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we have 2 levels. The first level program, the Certified Professional Coach, is 30 hours, and the second level is the Certified Master Coach program. Location. There are training programs that are available online. There are training programs located in a specific place. We do offer both options. We do classes on site at your location. We do classes in cities around the country, and we also offer classes online. In terms of training, there are programs that are a few hours. They're usually not approved and can be as low as $400. So, yeah, those are out there. There are programs you can spend $20,000 on, usually through a university. At the Center for Coaching Certification, each of our programs is $16.95. Now, when we work with a company, and we do this where we come to you and do the program in your location, and you have a number of people going through, then we work with you on what that per person is. So how do you choose the right training? You want it to be unique. There's a lot of training out there. Some of it I've already done training on communication, or I already know about that assessment tool, or whatever it is. You want the training to be something that's specific to the coaching itself, and to fully engage. As you probably guessed, all training is not created equal in terms of the quality of the training and in terms of it fully engaging people. So the resources that we have available to you, of course, the Center for Coaching Certification. This is where you have the training program. It is approved by the International Coach Federation, and yes, we're authorized by IASET to offer those CEUs. So it is a full certification. Next, we have the Center for Coaching Solutions. This is our sister company. And through the Center for Coaching Solutions, we offer consulting services to help you start and run a coaching program. We offer the training, of course, for the coaches. We also offer coaches that are trained and certified, and they're available to work with you. So where you want, we work with you in bringing your internal coaches up to speed in terms of the coaching competencies, etc. We can provide coaches for the internal coaches. We can support them in coaching inside the company. And then we have the external coaches available that can work with your top-level managers, leaders, and high potentials. So absolutely available to you. The consulting, the training, and then the coaching. Now, what are your next steps at this point? We're pushing up on our quick 30 minutes being over. I promised I'd give you that free 30 minutes. I'm going to give you how to get that. You want to be choosing for yourself your resources, planning your process, and then implementing your strategy so that you achieve the results you're looking for. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Now, let me give you how to access that free 30 minutes. After today's conversation, I will email all of you a link to the recording. It'll be on our YouTube channel. In the same email, I'll let you know, hey, if you are interested in that free 30 minutes, let me know, and I'll send you a link to my calendar. You can literally go into my calendar online, choose a time that works for you, put in your name and your phone number. On that day at that time, we'll have that conversation. I know I do have a number of you that are international. So for the international ones, we can arrange to either have the conversation through a webinar like this, or we can arrange to do it on Skype. So we've got options and possibilities for that, absolutely available to you. So recognizing we have used our 30 minutes and many of you have other things scheduled, I do want to thank you. I appreciate you being here, your time and your participation, and I appreciate the thank yous that you're giving me in that question panel, so thank you. I also want to let those of you that want to stay around and ask additional questions now, I'm going to hang around and answer those additional questions. So for those of you that are heading out, thank you so much for being here. Do watch for that email. For those of you that are staying around, please let me know what additional questions you have and what else I can answer for you. In the meantime, I'm gonna start jumping in, actually, and get going on those questions. So thank you, everyone. The additional questions that are coming in for those of you that are saying, oh, and I do have a hand up. Stacy, looks like you put your hand up. Does that mean you want to come live and ask a question? Either raise your hand again or type it in on the, okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring you live. Hi, Stacy, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. What can I answer for you?
Well, I'm actually, I enjoyed the presentation, first off, but I'm more interested in, I guess, external. I'm trying to build more resources, tools. And so I'm interested in becoming a coach. So I had more questions in line of how to actually start that process. I'm located in Houston, Texas.
Okay, absolutely. No, delighted to have that question. And there are several people that are asking similar questions, Stacy. So what I'll do is I'll start rattling off a few things, and you tell me where you want to go with it. Does that work for you?
It does. Mm-hmm.
All right, excellent. So, of course, the first thing when you say, I want to be a coach, is the coach training. It's interesting in that if you go online and start searching around, you will find literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of options for coach training. So what I'll share with you is there are a lot of great programs out there. What's most significant to you is that it's approved by the International Coach Federation. That's your number one factor. Now, of course, when I talk about the Center for Coaching Certification, I'll be like all the other 400 programs. I'm going to say, yeah, we're the best program out there. We all want to say that. Mm-hmm. and what I'll say is, realistically, there truly are a lot of great programs. So looking for that ICF approval is your biggest indicator. For most people looking at a training program, your other considerations are the timing, the schedule of it, the location of it, and the cost of it. Mm-hmm. So as an example, through the Center for Coaching Certification, if you said, I want to be a coach, we have the Certified Professional Coach Program. You're in Houston, Texas, so I'll give you an example. We're going to do a class in Houston. It will actually start at the end of October and go into November for a training program. Sometimes people say, well, I want to do it sooner than that. Well, in May, we have an online class starting where the entire program is done virtually, so as long as you have an internet connection, you're good. And sometimes people say, well, I like the face-to-face. So we do have classes that start in 4 different cities each month, and you can pick. You can say, okay, part of the class is online, and then there's part of it that's face-to-face. So you have a choice. What works better for you? That's one example of what you're considering. In terms of cost, our professional coach program is the first 30 hours of training, and it's $16.95. Now, if you want to become a member of the International Coach Federation, and I do recommend that if you're going to be an external coach and market yourself as a coach, you're going to have 60 hours of training required to join the ICF as a member. So that means our Certified Master Coach program. So when you look at training programs, if it's only 30 hours, that's your first step. We do it in 2 steps because it helps people manage their budget and their schedule as far as that goes. So that's an option for you. When you look at a program, you do want to make sure it's building all 11 core competencies, because there are some programs out there that will address 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of the competencies, and you really want all 11 in terms of being a coach. So that's a big consideration too. What else can I answer for you?
Well, if I elect to come in under the master's program, that's just a total of 60 hours, so that's the beginning 30 hours and then additional 30 hours in order to be a member of the ICF.
Exactly.
So then what would be the overall cost for the master's program as opposed to just the regular coaching, the 30 hours?
Well, so the first program is $16.95, the second program is $16.95. So you take the 2 and you put them together. That's your total cost.
Okay, I see what you're saying. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that covers you there. Now, a couple of really great things about what we offer at the Center for Coaching Certification. If you have another professional designation, the fact that we're a CEU provider means very often it counts toward maintaining that. We also offer a lot after training in terms of supporting our coaches. So for companies that are hiring coaches, knowing that our sister company is there where we have coaches available. Well, guess where those coaches come from? They've gone through the training program. So we're actively supporting and helping you in terms of building your business that way. We do have an online searchable directory of coaches called findacertifiedcoach.com, and only coaches that have gone through the certification are allowed to list themselves there. So that's a resource for getting yourself out there. And then, of course, we do lots of continuing education that's free. We also publish a book once a year. And what's really fun about that is the chapters are written by coaches who have gone through the program. And what it means is they get to put themselves out there as an expert, and we work in teams writing the chapters and giving each other feedback, etc. And so now these coaches get to say, I'm a published author. And when they're marketing themselves as a coach, it's an added level of credibility, plus people can read their chapter and see their level of expertise. So it's a great resource for them. We also do classes that we include. One's on the business of coaching, and the other is on marketing yourself as a coach. So a lot of the people that go through our training program are like you, where they're starting a business. We also have a lot that are internal. They're going to work inside the company. So what happens is, for the ones that are external, those classes make sense. It's giving you a lot of the basics on having your business and how to market yourself. So it's a great opportunity.
Okay. And I just have one last question in reference to, I have a PhD in counseling studies. Is there a certain level of education that you need to come into the coaching program?
Well, so coaching, being uncontrolled, there aren't any prerequisites out there. We do have an application we ask people to fill out as far as that goes. Yeah, you're fine in terms of where you're at. So we want to know that where people are as far as their experience level and make sure we're meeting them where they're at. You fit in really well in terms of who takes this class. I can say that with what that background is.
Okay. Okay. All right. That concludes my questions.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
So I'll go ahead and, oh, I think I cut you off. I'll put Stacy back on mute. If others want to raise your hand, I'm happy to answer your questions too. In the meantime, I've got more here. Stacy, maybe you help generate some of these questions. So someone said, how much am I going to earn as a coach? And of course, the answer there is it depends. I know you'd like more of an answer, so let me give you the range. Somebody that goes into life coaching in most parts of the country, a very bottom line starting rate is around $100 a session for their coaching services. If somebody is coaching executives in the C-suite, higher level, that kind of thing, you're going to be closer to the $500, $600 an hour as a starting point in terms of their coaching. So you've got quite a range. The median currently is $500 an hour. It depends on the area of coaching you do and your other related expertise or experience. So that's how you're determining. Now, how many hours can you coach? Keep in mind that for each hour that you invest as a coach, you have an additional hour behind the scenes doing the work for running your business. So that means if you're going to work full-time, your maximum in terms of coaching is going to be thinking 20 hours a week for coaching services. That's a lot of clients. Does it happen at that level for everyone? No. Most people are coaching 10 to 15 hours a week when they're doing it as a full-time business and when they work it. And working it means really getting themselves out there, marketing, networking, and building their client base. So hopefully that's giving you an idea of what the potential is there. Does everyone get there? No. There are a lot of people that go through coach training and never get a client. They use the coach training in other areas of their life. It's a personal development, professional development opportunity for them. Are there coaches that do really well? Yes. It's across the board. It's like any business owner. How hard are you working it? Let's see. Other questions here. I think I've answered the questions that came in terms of how you get certified, in terms of the field and looking for training, etc. So it seems like those are good. Growth opportunities of question on that. So of course, as you start putting yourself out there as a coach, you are building your reputation, you're getting referrals, etc. And referrals are a great source. To get started on the front end, what you want to think about doing is how are people going to find you? How are you putting yourself out there? Sometimes that's done through speaking or training programs. Sometimes it's done through publications. Obviously, the networking space and doing that both online and in your area makes sense. So lots of opportunities there. I believe I've covered the questions at this point. Again, thank you for all of your thank yous in there. Appreciate having each and every one of you here. And those, a lot of you hung around for a long time afterwards. So thank you as well. I'll get that email out to you with a link to today's recording. And you can respond to that if you want to have additional time for more questions getting answered. So thank you, everyone.